16 people in category 2 out of all of PHP, and I think 10 in category 1. So still a lot of runway for you guys to get in there and get inside these categories and earn that extra money. There's nothing better. So there's my two favorite things about this industry. All you have to do is wake up every single day and do your job, which is really just to protect the people you know and love, the people around you, your community members. And by doing so, you get to earn really good money, right? No one can cap you. There's the sky is the limit. And the second thing is you get those cool trips, right? This is the only industry where you get a paid for vacation. Like, I'm not just saying paid time off, right? Paid time off means I'm gonna not go to work for a week and I might still make my salary, but I can't afford to go to Disneyland. I can't afford to go to Hawaii. So I'm just gonna repaint my living room, right? That's what Americans do, right? And so this industry says, hey, not only have you worked your tail off, not only have you protected all these lives, not only do you get to go on vacation, but we're gonna pay for you to go on vacation. Take advantage of what's in front of you, and this is one of those things. So contest and say, I don't know, I hope. This is free money. You're not going to get the lottery. Yeah. Right? The lottery is a guessing game. This is your action creates results. And here are your results. So let's talk a little bit more about National Life Group. I know there's some fans. Yeah! But for me, the biggest fan is right here, because I'm a sponsor, so it doesn't get any better than that. So I want to tell you a little bit about our story, because I think that in order for you to properly sell and represent National Life, you have to know it the way that I know it. Yeah. And so here's the story of National Life. Who knows how old we are?
75.
176.
Well, now.
Well, yeah, it was last year, right? We're almost 177, so be on the lookout. It happens in November. So anyway, we're 176 years old. We're actually 75 years older than, 76 years older, no, 75 years older than Walt Disney Corporation.
Wow.
People don't realize that, fun fact, right? People don't realize that. We're only 76 years younger than the United States of America, in fact, right? 1776, the math. Right. So we are really a historic part of the United States that many people don't realize. We first had we were founded in Montpelier, Vermont. This is our very first home office. That building is still standing today in Montpelier. It is a museum. It is not a museum for National Life Group. But it is actually a museum for Vermont agriculture. So this is our current office. We actually only comprise about half of this building. The state of Vermont takes up these two buildings here, and then a parking lot. The reason I'm showing you our current office is because we've only, in our entire history, had 7 home offices. Wow. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. And all of them are still standing. So we made some good buildings. In that time, in 176 years, we've only had 16 CEOs. What does that tell you about our company? What's one word that you think of when you hear those facts? Loyalty, longevity, stability. Yeah. It has been rooted in who we are for the entire time we've been around. And I hate to tell you this, and I'm a woman of facts. I've seen carriers on some of the flyers in the other offices, although I don't see them in here per se. They're out there, out of my purview, who have been bought and sold, and bought and sold, and bought and sold, no less than 5 times. In fact, they asked us to buy them. Wow. Aaron said no, because he saw their balance sheets. So there are people who come to us and ask us to purchase them, because they can't hang, and we can. So loyalty, longevity, and who we are, the fabric of our company, is inside relationships and inside stability. This is Montpelier. It's actually one of the smallest state capitals in the United States, and there is not one single franchise inside the capital lines. So Vermont is itty-bitty, which is why I was on the basketball team, because I was the tallest person in the whole state. And I haven't played since. So let me tell you the story of our very first duck plane. Has anybody ever heard this story? It is on YouTube, by the way. Okay, cool story, and you'll know why in just a second. So as I mentioned to you, when we were founded, we were only in Montpelier, Vermont at the time. So our contract said that if you went west of the Mississippi line and something happened to you, it was null and void. You were outside of the jurisdiction where we could help you. I mean, that makes sense. This is the days of horse and buggy. Like, how do we know what's going on anyway? So just our luck. The very first death plane came from an individual who left Vermont and came to California for the gold rush. Okay, this person got on a ship, went all the way down, all the way around, ended up in a San Diego harbor, and died on the ship from sepsis. Okay, they were outside of our jurisdiction, but this was the very first time someone was trying to use this new concept of life insurance. So our founders had a really big decision to make. Do we enact our right to say no because we don't have risk-based capital? Our office was a quarter of this room. It was a desk, a chair, and a filing cabinet. So we didn't even have the money. Or do we do this thing called keeping promises, foreshadowing, and we go to a local bank and take a personal loan and pay the debt plan? Which one do you think we did? Second one, we took out a loan. And by the way, this gets even better because at the time where this person died, like I said, was San Diego, California was still a territory of Spain. So this wasn't even a person who was in what was considered the United States at that point in time. So we not only kept our promise, we really went above and beyond to showcase that these policies were not too good to be true, even way back in the 1800s. So that story to me is really, really important because when we say we're gonna do something, we try our damnedest to do the thing. And if we can't do it, sometimes there's regulations, sometimes there's technology issues, sometimes there's things we just can't control, but it doesn't mean we haven't been trying for 176 years to get where we are today. So you can stand behind a company like National Life Group. So I wanted to tell you guys that because I would like to now show you my party trick. Does anybody want to see a party trick?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's super fun to me, but it's super lame at a real party, but you guys are gonna make it happen. Alright, will you see my guinea pig? Okay. Alright, Joe, there we go. Got my guinea pig. Yes, please. So, she's obviously never done this before, she has no idea what we're about to do. This right here is how I explain what I do for a living. When people say, why are you always traveling? Why are you always on the go? What is it that you do? You say you talk to people, what is it? It's also how I sell what it is that I represent, which is the insurance policy, right? So once someone hears you're a life insurance agent, they typically don't want to talk to you again. Right? It's not the, they just, oh, okay, that's cool, and they get afraid and they run away, right? So what I do is I take this puzzle. Has anybody ever seen our puzzle?
Yes.
Okay, this is a $1 investment in your business that will probably reap you way more ROI than you've ever experienced in your life, between recruiting and selling. And here's how I do it. What you're selling is not tangible. You cannot eat it, drive it, smell it, or wear it. So it's the first thing someone lets go of when they have a financial hardship. They let go of the thing they can't see, right? This is how it works. And so I need to make this tangible. I need to make it understandable, and I need to keep it engaging. So one of the first things I'm gonna do, doesn't matter how I met her, could be a line at Starbucks, could be at one of our kids' soccer games, it could be, a referral. So I'll take the die too soon, and I'll say, what would happen to your husband and your children if you didn't make it home tonight? You gotta get real. We gotta get real with the people.
Yes, you do. They will, they'll be very stressed out,
Yeah.
hardship. Right.
So the answer to this one isn't my most concerning piece, by the way. I'm just getting that conversation going. And here's what I can do with this. She could say, my family's gonna be sad.
Yeah.
And I could say, yeah, you're right. Many people go through that. Unexpected passings are very sad. She could say, I have coverage through my employer. Then I can educate that it's not transferable. She could say, my parents bought me a Gerber policy, and that's all I got. And then I would say, congratulations, you're part of 40% of Americans who thought to get protection, right? So it doesn't matter, but I can use that.
Yeah.
That's great. Have you ever known anybody in your life, and now I use become ill, have you ever known anyone in your life who's had a heart attack?
Yes.
Okay. What about someone who has had cancer?
Yes.
And have you ever known anybody who's needed some long-term care assistance or chronic illness help? Now, with whatever time I have, I'm gonna dig into that. Guys, I'm storytelling with her now. I'm creating a heartstring. I'm connecting her to people that are in her life that have been sick or injured, that have impacted their finances. Because it could be her dad, it could be her high school boyfriend, it could be her best friend's sister.
Yeah.
Those people are now gonna come up in her brain like this. And if she was part of any of those financial problems, like saw from afar, she will think of what those people went through. Because right now, at an all-time high, people are remortgaging their house, they're getting second jobs, they're selling their heirlooms, their family heirlooms, they're taking out hardships from their retirement accounts. So by making her think of those people, she's gonna think of those instances.
Yeah.
So then I'm gonna say, but what if I told you that I have access to a product, that I represent a product, that if you don't pass away unexpectedly and you do not get sick, you're going to get your money back. Live too long, you're gonna get your money back. And it's tax-free and it's guaranteed for the rest of your life.
That would be amazing.
Is that something you'd like to look at?
Yeah, definitely.
Here's the thing. Millions of dollars go unclaimed every single year in this industry. In fact, it's like $1 billion. You guys can look it up. It's like $1 billion though.
Wow.
So roughly $1 billion goes unclaimed. And the reason for that is because the beneficiaries don't realize these policies exist. So it's important to me that before we go any further, I come in and sit with your husband as well. I'm gonna be in your area on Tuesday. Do you think the three of us could sit down and talk?
Yeah.
It gets better. Because when I get into her home,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the damn thing again. Because you wanna be prepared with your illustrations, your sales material, don't get me wrong, but you wanna show him again. Because if you jump right into the sale, then that other spouse thinks that you bamboozled their partner. They just see it as, oh, they opened the door. They don't see it as the emotional. Because I connected with her emotionally
Yeah.
over sadness and trauma and fear. I need to now connect to the spouse, right? That's the very important part. But then it gets really good because I get to say to both of them, you guys travel, right? Travel without your children?
Yes.
Everybody goes, absolutely. Now here's the thing, if you have coma, paralysis, severe burn, and you're away on a trip, who's going to be the guardian of your children? Mom? Is that
Yes.
your turn? Okay. Can I meet your mom?
Sure.
Because millions of dollars go unclaimed every single year.
Wow.
I need to make sure your children get this money and that their guardian knows how to access it on their behalf. Can you introduce me to your mom?
That's really like 3 people to 3 people.
It's this recurring thing because what ends up happening, thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
She's all done. Does anybody in here know the difference between a client and a customer? There's an actual definition difference.
Customer, it consumes a product. And then-
Close. You're getting there. You're on the edge. You're on the verge.
Yeah, customer, consumer,
Consumer. Yeah.
and then client, it's like service? No,
A little bit. You're almost there. So a customer has one product from you. One. It's transactional. You know, you like me today, you're gonna like him next week more because he has a cooler car. That's a customer. It's transactional, means nothing. A client means they're with you. You've got a couple products together, you're invested in one another. That's a client. That's clients, you know, if you think about the same coffee shop down the street, not Starbucks, but let's say you go to a local coffee shop. You're a client of that coffee shop.
Yeah.
You seek them specifically for that coffee. Versus being a customer at Starbucks because it's convenient to get your coffee there. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so that's what this can do though. That's why I bring that up. This creates clients. Because when I have her policy and her husband's policy and her mom and her dad and her sister and her brother and her brother-in-law and her sister-in-law, it's gonna be really hard now for him from Purple and Yellow Company to come in and steal my client. Because if she changes her policy, she has to explain to all these other people why she left me for him. And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, psychology, my friends.
Yeah.
Sales is all psychology, really. And love. Psychology and love. So, the reason I started with the history of National Life to show you my party trick is because it is not a bait and switch. Meaning, I'm not going up to her and saying, hey, if you have $100 a month, I'll give you a death benefit. Okay, super cool. If you can scrounge up $25 more, I'll give you this rider too. And if you give up Starbucks for a week, I can get you this rider too. That's how most insurance is sold. Right? Can we agree on that?
Yes.
At National Life Group, this is why I love my company so much, this is why the history matters, because whether she has $100 a month or she has $1,000 a month, she gets all of this in one product. Do you see how from a compliance perspective, it's easier to sell that?
Yeah.
That's why I love National Life. Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
At what point are you doing that with the potential client?
I've done it on airplanes, I've done it in coffee shops, I do it at conventions when people are like, what do you do for the company? I'll say, let me show you what I do.
Okay, got it.
Right? So that's why I say it can be a recruiting tool, Like, if someone's like, I don't understand what a wholesaler for insurance does, I'll say, this is what I do, and I'll pull this out. In a client situation, same thing, someone's like, I'm not really understanding like why insurance is important, then I pull this out. If you think it's just a gimmicky product, let's talk about this piece, let's talk about this piece, let's put it all together. So it just depends on the environment, but that's why I like it. I think it's really quick, it's kind of like the futuristic napkin sale that we used to do back in the day. It just brings the whole thing to life. And people are like, do I leave the puzzle with the client? They're just gonna give it to their kid or their dog, so it's up to you. But that's what this is what I use the puzzle for. Most people just like to take them off my booth and then do that. To each their own, to each their own. So another thing about National Life, just to kind of keep some more like thought in you guys for like fun facts you can share. So this is actually the slide, this is the first slide Miron shows us every January once we restart the year. By the way, we start at 0. January 1 is like the worst day for me, because I get to celebrate success for 12 hours. And then he's like, and we're done, we're back at nothing. It sounds a lot like a Patrick Bet David, from what I gather. So with that said, we always first talk about the promises we've kept and the people we've protected. That's always the first thing he shares. Because to him, yes, we are a company, yes, we want to grow. That's the natural part of being in business and being in corporate America. But if you follow your passion and you follow your mission, everything else comes.
Yeah.
Right? So if we're seeking people to cover, well, by finding those people, we will get paid commission. But if all we're thinking about is commission, it's hard to find the people. Because you're thinking about, and you're law of attraction, you're attracting the wrong thing. So we had a lot of new customers last year, new policies. But I like these 2 bullet points down here. Total benefits paid, $2.9 billion in benefits from January 1 to December 31 last year. So that's only 365 days. That is death claims, withdrawals, living benefits, and interest put into accounts. Now, below that is specifically living benefits, which again, is January 1 to December 31. We paid out over $100 million in benefits. So another company, I get to watch other carriers speak all the time. Another company that I do know you sell, got up on stage one time, and I love going after these people, by the way, because it gives me so much to use when I'm out there. And the people who know me well tend to put me after because they love that I rip on people. But, so they got up on stage, this guy, right? And he was so excited. He's like, guys, we just hit a 5th year, and sorry, not a 5th year. In the last 5 years, is what he said. In the last 5 years, we paid out $100 million in living benefits. So I got up on stage, and I said, what took him 5 years to do, took us 365 days.
Wow.
Just saying. Wow. And again, the reason I get to do that is not because I'm a middle child with parent problems. It's because it's true. It's not bragging if it's true.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
These are just straight facts we're putting on the table.
Come
Now,
on.
speaking of more straight facts that we're putting on the table, let's talk about the difference between a mutual insurance company and a stock company.
Come on.
So there are 727 insurance carriers right now in the industry.
Wow.
Right now, okay?
That's crazy.
Pre-COVID, there was roughly 740.
Wow.
Pre-COVID,
Really?
yeah. Where did they go?
Jesus.
Where'd they go?
Yeah, I think we're bought out.
Bought out, mergers, ton of acquisitions, went foreign, left America completely.
Wow.
Okay, so when you got 727 companies in general, you scroll all the way down, you've got 110 mutual. What is